Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We've been talking about the spiritual dynamics of government, and we've really been looking at the whole concept of strongholds. We're to cast down strongholds. Now, with this, we've said that a stronghold isn't the presence of a spiritual host of wickedness in the heavenlies, like the Prince of Persia, the Prince of Greece from the book of Daniel. No, that's not what the stronghold is. The stronghold isn't principalities and powers or the rulers of the darkness of this world. The stronghold is what they are trying to build within the culture. See, ultimately, culture is the host of strongholds. Culture is the host of strongholds. Now, with this, don't take that just negatively. You see, when David, when he became king of Israel, he went out through the regions around Jerusalem and then even further as he expanded the kingdom, and he built strongholds in various places. God wants strongholds. God's strongholds are the ones that make it easier for people to receive from him. The strongholds of the devil are the ones that hinder people from receiving. We'll get more into the strongholds that God wants to build a little bit later. We're still talking now primarily about the ones Satan wants to build. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. We're looking primarily at that first part, casting down arguments. Right before that, in verse 4, it says, pulling down strongholds. These strongholds, the end result of them are arguments. Now, some translations of that particular verse says, casting down imaginations. Both of those are very good in different ways. They bring out two concepts of one idea. Now, with this, we talked a couple days ago about the arguments. When a stronghold has been built up, it reaches a place where there are arguments. There are arguments in our culture, in our society today, arguing right versus wrong. Those are arguments today. They're no longer a discussion of knowledge, information. No, they're arguments of control. They are arguments of control. It's not just a thought being entertained anymore, even though it's in disobedience to God. It's not just a thought being entertained. It's not just an idea being promoted. It has reached argument level. When it reaches that, one of the things that goes along with it is that idea of imagination, casting down imaginations. You see, at that point, when it's reached the argument stage, one of the phrases I like to use here is that it likes to imagine a world without godly influence. When a stronghold has reached the level of argument, it imagines, because imagination is creative. It's creative in nature. You can entertain a thought, you can promote a thought, but then when you begin to argue for it, you begin to enter into a creative state of how this we can do, what could end up being the result. And in this, the stronghold of the devil actually imagines a world in a given area or across the board without any godly influence. No godly influence either in that one area or no godly influence whatsoever. No knowledge of God, no obedience to Christ. All of that gets thrown out either in an area or corporately. It goes from imagination, it goes from argument to imagination. Imagine it. And here's the big part. Here's the end result of that imagination. That imagination envisions a world where you can do the things that you're wanting to do, the things that you're promoting, without a consequence. You see, going back again to the Garden of Eden, Genesis chapter 3, when Eve was being tempted. Has God said you can't eat of every tree? That's the thought. Then it's promoted. No, you're not going to die. Matter of fact, this fruit will make you more like God. Make you more like Him. And then, at that point, again, that whole idea, no, you're not going to die. There will not be a consequence. There is a way that there could be no consequences for this disobedience. No way whatsoever. All we need to do, and in some circles this is where it's at, all we need to do is get rid of these religious fanatics that believe that there's a God. We need to shut their mouth. And that imagination to where, again, there's no consequence. There is no downside to what is disobedience. And at that point, they're not even framing it within the idea of obeying God or not. They're just framing it within the idea of freedom. But there's always consequences for disobedience. Join us again tomorrow. God bless you.